Hi guys, and welcome back to our Patreon tutorials. So for today we're going to do a quick draw exercise using a regular pencil, some alcohol markers. I've got Ohuhu here, but anything that is alcohol based will be absolutely fine. And also some colouring pencils. Again, I've got some Arteza here, but whatever colouring pencils you have lying around will work just fine. So let's jump in. Right guys, so for today's little quick draw exercise, I thought we would do a red fox. They're super cute and you don't need many colours to be able to crack out and draw this little cute animal. All you need is maybe an orange or some light browns, whatever it is that you have to hand. Don't go crazy, you don't need masses of pens to give this technique a go. And the same for your coloured pencils, maybe some dark browns, a black might be useful. Again, you don't need masses of colours in order to do this animal. So we're going to start off quite nice and simply with a circle for the head. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple for now. Got a circle for the head. I'm going to pop in a circle here for the body. So this little fox is sitting down. And we can throw in a circle for where the back leg is. He's sitting down, so we won't see much of the leg. Then we can do some sketchy lines in here for the front legs, and we can do a sort of semicircle shape for where the tail will be. So I've just done a line along the bottom and a dome along the top, again keeping it very light and sketchy for the time being. Now this fox's head is tilted slightly, so I'm just going to draw the line in the centre, but just slightly off angle. So it's not quite vertical, but ever so slightly off angle. Sketch that line in, and then we can build up the rest of the face around this line. Also going to draw a line that kind of perpendicular to that. So we've got a horizontal line, just off horizontal for the middle of the animal as well. Now I'm going to draw in the features. So on the top half, in the top corner, I'm going to draw one ear, sort of a light triangle shape. And I'm going to mimic that same shape ever so slightly off here. Using this this horizontal line, you can do a few more just so you get an idea of how to place the ears and making sure that they're level. So I'm now going to place the muzzle. I'm just going to do a little circle kind of at the bottom of the larger circle that I've already drawn. And that's where the mouth will be, so the mouth will kind of be a little rounded shape here, just cutting off that bottom part of the circle. Pop in the nose, just another circle within that smaller circle. Now the eyes, I'm going to make the eyes fall on this line that I've drawn here, and they sit just on the outside of this muzzle shape. So this kind of circle I've put in here, I can draw some light lines here, and draw in some other sort of oval shapes for where the eyes will go. That's giving me a general placement and I can build up the detail afterwards. I'm also going to pad out the cheeks slightly. So I could do these kind of rectangular shapes and bring in this line to connect the chest up to the cheek here. That chest line can come down through here to the middle. Kind of rounds off this oval shape at the front of the chest. I'm going to draw the back. So I'm just using this rib cage circle that I've drawn before. Drawn a line slightly off the top. I'm going to angle that down for where the spine bends and bring it in a nice curve here to connect all of those shapes together. I'm now going to give the forelimbs some definition. So where I've got this line I've drawn in before, I'm going to incorporate that into the back of the leg. And then draw the front leg, just extending from the chest down in a sort of vertical line there. And the same for this other leg. Just going to bring in a second line ever so slightly off vertical and bring it in like so. For the paws, I'm going to keep it really simple because the nature of alcohol markers make things blend quite nicely, so we're not going to go into lots of detail here. I'm just going to draw a stylized little paw, which will be a sort of semicircle shape, like so. The same again for that front paw, being okay with the fact that it's overlapping that rear paw as well. And then the back leg, I'm just going to extend that line from where the ground is to about here. I'm going to draw sort of a flattened semicircle, semi-oval, to kind of give the rear foot shape here a position to be. And the rump can be kind of extended down. And we'll make this nice and fluffy when we colour it in shortly. Now for the tail again, just sketch that shape in a little bit more, maybe round off this edge here, so instead of it being quite a sharp angle here, give it a nice curved edge to imply how big and fluffy this tail is. Cool, so we've got a very light and simple structure. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sort of erase all the excess space, excess lines that we don't need, and I'm going to go straight into colouring it. Cool, I'm just going to redo out those outlines because I've ever so slightly erased them. I'm going to give these eyes a better shape. So we have the oval, which is the general eye shape. I'm just going to bring in that top lid here, bring it down, and fill in actually where the eyeball is with the circle, like so. And do the same for the other eye here. So it's looking ever so sort of cartoonish at this point, and that's fine. That's kind of what I'm going for, a slightly more stylized face. Again, I'm just going to bring in that nose and that mouth. I'm not going to worry too much about anything else for now because I'm just going to throw in the colour using the alcohol markers. So I have a selection of alcohol markers here. I happen to have a set of just tans and oranges, which is perfect for my little fox here, but you don't need anything crazy. You can just get away with maybe some light oranges, some light browns, whatever it is that you have to hand, and that will work just fine. So one thing to bear in mind is to work from light to dark, because once you've applied dark marker, dark kind of inks, it's the same for most sort of art materials. Once you've applied something dark, it's very difficult to then bring it back up to light, unless it's something that is pretty opaque, like maybe acrylic paint once that's dried, gouache once that's dried. But the way that alcohol markers work is very difficult to then bring up that colour to anything lighter after you've applied the dark. So I'm just going to pull out a few lighter colours. I'm going to go for this kind of pink. For everything that we do, I've got a light grey here, everything we do I'm going to swatch before I use them to make sure that I'm happy with them. So I've actually swatched, or these markers came swatched already, so I've got an idea of what colours I have, and I'm going to kind of pull up some of these lighter ones that I like. So for example, this milk white is quite nice, powdery orange could be quite useful here, and maybe this morin. But I'm just going to pull out the ones that I think will work nice for the fox. So I've got my selection of colours here. There's quite a lot, but I don't think you need masses. You can just play with whatever it is you have at hand. But always start with the light colours, like I said. So what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to just quickly swatch them to make sure I know what they look like on this paper that I'm using. So I'm just going to do a little swatch at the top. That's quite a nice orange. I'm just going to put a little, I'm going to write down this number here so I know what I've used. Cool, so I'm really happy with the selection of colours I've got here. Nothing too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the bulk of this fox, especially where the kind of white tummy areas are, with this light grey. It's it is a warm grey, so based on this kind of marker type by Ohuhu, it comes out ever so slightly orange, which is kind of nice. Even though the reference photo I've got is kind of bluey, kind of grey, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to make it how I want it to look. So I'm just going to throw in this colour here. I'm not worried about the pencil line smudging at this point because I'm going to go over it later anyway. Kind of tip of the tail here as well. Cool. Coloured in the face, the chest, and a little bit of where the tummy is. I'm going to do the inside of the ears as well. Now the wonderful thing is about these alcohol markers is whilst they're still wet, they can blend really nicely. So I've gone in with my yellow. I'm just going to bring in some yellow around the sides of the face and blend it in slightly with this neck area. And do the same for where the shoulder is. Letting those kind of edges blend and merge in together. I'm going to do some around the side and some on the top of the leg. Again, letting those two areas merge and blend together. And do some of the top of the tail as well. I'm going to go in with the face as well because there's like a nice little light patch on the top of the head. Throwing in those lighter colours first. So next I'm going to go in with this powdery orange. This one looks kind of bright, but I think it'll look quite nice going over the top. See? So there it's quite bright, but putting it over top of the yellow, it mutes it slightly, which is a really nice kind of blend there. So I'm just going to put a few spot patches in, kind of doing diagonal sketchy bits, and letting those colours, whilst the page is still wet, to really blend in together. Going around these lighter parts with a slightly darker shade. Doing it at the same time, it allows it kind of some kind of shadow as you're going. So I might just fill in a lot of this body here with this orange here. Fill out these areas. So I'm not too worried too much at the minute that I'm going outside the lines because I'm going to make that look neater later once we go in with our coloured pencil. Just adding a bit of texture, flicking in that orange, darkening it up. Then I'm going to go in with a slightly darker shade. Again, just going to bring in some of these edges, flick that brush, especially if you've got a nice brush nib. These Ohuhu markers come with a lovely brush nib. It means I can do lots of thin lines or I can do thick lines. Just add in a bit of texture. Bring in some shadow as well, which makes it look more interesting. So you'll notice where I'm applying heavy here and flicking it up, it actually makes quite a nice gradient into that tail. Sketch in some fur at the top of the head. Go around eyebrows and the eyelids. A little bit down the nose as well. Like so. So it's coming all together really nicely. I'm just going to add in another extra orange just for a little bit of it kind of different, make it a little bit more vibrant. Again, just doing lots of flicky shapes, adding in texture for where there's lots of fur. Bring in maybe some colour up here. Lovely orange foxy. So you can see that I've left the arms and the foot bare. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with a darker pen, but nothing too dark. Even though the legs are black, I don't want to go too dark straight away because I want the outline when I put it down to actually be quite visible. So I'm just going to find a darker pen. Colour here called Pale Mauve. It doesn't look quite that dark used at the end of the marker, but it is quite dark on paper. So I'm just going to fill in those legs. I'm going to draw around the ears as well. Like so. And then next I'm going to go in with my coloured pencil. So for this little guy, instead of going with a harsh black colour, which sometimes could be quite nice for illustrations, I thought I'd go in with a dark brown, just to make it a little bit more soft, a little bit kind of more delicate. And I find using colour as an outline can be quite nice. So that's what I'm going to do with this guy. I'm just going to go in with the brown pencil and start kind of pulling out those outlines like I did before. I'm going to colour in his nose. I'm not too worried about this pencil being super sharp. I'm not kind of an expert kind of coloured pencil artist. But I'm just going to bring in those lines. Do his little chin. I'm pressing quite hard. I'm not being too delicate with this. I think it's just nice to bring out that kind of cartoony style. I'm pressing quite hard here for the eye as well. I'm going to colour that all in. I'm going to bring down that centre line, be quite cute. Add in an eyebrow. So this little rectangular shape here. And the top of the head. So what I like to do when I'm drawing fur is do some horizontal lines, leave a little space, and do a couple of those vertical lines, and that kind of makes it look a bit fluffy. I'll draw the ear in as well. Again, doing those little sketchy lines to make it look like he's nice and fluffy. Like so. I'm going to add some fluff to the middle of the ear, so nice short lines here. And I'm going to do his cheeks. So I'll draw that line straight across, bring in a few of those sketchy lines towards his face, and then fill in that gap as well. So because I've got the colour laid down, doing this kind of sketchy style makes him look nice and fluffy. Do the back as well. Got that one long curved line there for his back. Like so. Do some fluffy knees. And the chest. Bring in these legs. Doing quite long straight lines because the fur is kind of smoother. It's not as fluffy as it is on the body, so I'm not too worried about doing these little flicky lines in, like so. Draw his little feet. Do a couple of toes. The same here. Do some fluff on the back leg here. Bring in that bottom line and some toes, like so. And then just to finish this little guy off, curve down that tail. So I bring in a nice long curved line here, and I'm just going to flick in some lines like so. Curved line, flicks. Straight line, maybe add some flicks there as well, to make it look nice and fluffy. Then I might go in and add a bit of extra detail, so perhaps some fur here. Just doing these very simple cartoony lines to make him look nice and fluffy. Cool. And it goes to show, when you've got alcohol markers, it's something I really recommend. You can actually put down a lot of colour down really quickly and able to make these really cute little illustrations in a fairly short space of time. So that's just how I go about doing it, making sure I lay the colours that are light down first, and then going over the top with some darker colours, and then adding a nice layer of coloured pencil over the top just to bring out those outlines. So I hope you had fun. Do let me know if you enjoyed this little tutorial, and I'd love to see what you come up with and see your version of this cute little fox as well. So I'll see you again for the next tutorial. Bye guys!